The sun burned red over the junkyard planet of Cavernine. Dust blew through the mountains of old metal, broken machines, and forgotten starship parts. No one came here except scavengers. Most people called this place trash. But for Joran, it was a second home. Joran was a human engineer who had once worked in the core colonies. Now he lived alone in a small shack made from ship scraps at the edge of the dump. Every morning he searched for useful parts he could fix and sell. It wasn't much, but it kept him alive. He liked the quiet. The silence never asked him questions. But that silence was broken one morning. He was digging through a pile of rusted exoframes when he heard a sound too soft to be metal. It was a whimper. Faint, weak. Not an animal, not a machine. It was something else. Joran froze. He listened. Then it came again, a muffled cry. Carefully, he pushed aside a heavy metal panel. Dust flew in his face. Beneath it was a broken crate. And inside the crate was her. At first, he thought it was a child. Small body, thin arms, curled up in fear. But then he saw her skin light, purple, bruised. Her hair was white, tangled, and dirty. Long pointed ears stuck out from her head. Her clothes were torn and barely covered her. An alien, she looked up at him with large, frightened eyes. Her lips moved, but no words came. Her face was scratched, and she was shaking. She tried to crawl back, but there was nowhere to go. Joran's first thought was to call it in. Protocol said any unknown life form must be reported immediately. He reached for his cum but stopped. She looked terrified. Not dangerous, just scared. Hurt. Alone, Joran dropped to one knee. "Hey," he said softly, "it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The girl didn't answer, but she didn't run either. Slowly, carefully, Joran reached out his hand. She stared at it for a long time. Then, with trembling fingers, she reached out and touched his glove. Her skin was cold, too cold. "She's dying," Joran muttered. "I can't leave her here." He gently picked her up. She was light, like a feather. Her head dropped against his chest. He could feel her breathing slow, shallow. Joran wrapped her in his old jacket and carried her back to his shack. He laid her on the cot, wrapped her in blankets, and lit the heating coils. Then he gave her water drop by drop hand, a bit of soft food. She didn't speak. But she looked at him, confused, as if wondering why he was helping her. That night, Joran couldn't sleep. He sat in his old chair, staring at her. Who was she? Why was she here? Why had someone left her to die? The junkyard didn't get many visitors, and no one dumped living beings lest they didn't want them found. Who would do this to a kid? He whispered. Morning came. She was still asleep. But her breathing was better. Joran stepped outside, looking over the junkyard. He had walked this ground for years, never found anything like her. He turned back to the shack and saw her standing in the doorway. She was weak. Standing, Joran. Rushed to her. Easy. You need to rest. She didn't speak. Just looked at him. Her eyes were full of questions and fear. Then, slowly, she pointed to herself. "Kari," she said. Her voice was soft, barely a whisper. "Kari." Joran repeated. She nodded. He smiled. "Okay, Kari, I'm Joran." She stared at him for a moment longer, then said another word, one that made Joran pause. "Home." Joran blinked. "Home." Kari looked around, then pointed to the shack, then to herself. Home. He didn't know what to say. She had chosen to stay, not because it was safe, but because it was better than where she came from. Joran sighed. He scratched his beard and looked up at the sky. "I guess we're roommates now." Far above, satellites passed silently over the planet. watching, waiting, and deep in a distant lab. An alert blinked red. Subject Alpha 3's signal lost. But for now, in the quiet junkyard, one human and one alien girl had found each other. And neither knew that everything was about to change. Joran had lived alone for years. His tools didn't talk back. His machines didn't cry. But now, there was someone else in his quiet world, a wounded alien teen who had barely spoken. More than 2 words. Kari, Joe. She moved silently around his small shack, her eyes always watching, her hands always shaking. She didn't speak again, not for days. She avoided mirrors, loud noises, and especially strangers. Not that many visited Joran. He liked it that way. But now, everything felt different. He gave her space. Me offered food. She wouldn't eat unless he left the room. She would sleep curled in a corner, never on the bed. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, he would hear her whispering in a language he couldn't understand. It sounded like sorrow, like memories. Joran, fixed ships, not people. He didn't know how to help someone broken inside. Still, he tried. He handed her a wrench one day and pointed to a small broken drone. "Try this," he said gently. Kar. I looked at it, then at him. Then, slowly, she sat down and began working. To his surprise, her hands knew what to do. Her fingers moved fast. Not just fast-skilled, like someone trained. The drone flickered to life after just 10 minutes. Joran blinked. "Where'd you learn that?" he asked. She didn't answer. But her lips twitched almost a smile. That night, Kari finally sat at the same table with him. She still didn't speak, but she didn't hide either. Bit by bit, the invisible wall between them began to crack. One morning, Joran returned from the scrapyard with a load of metal and found her cleaning the floor. His floor. It had never been cleaned before. "You don't have to do that," he said. "Ka-ah." I looked up, then pointed to herself. "Help," she said. Joran smiled. "All right. You want to help. You can. Just don't blow up anything." She tilted her head, confused. Later that week, he brought home an old cooking unit. "We'll need something better if you're staying." "Here." He paused. "Are you staying?" Kari didn't speak. She simply walked over, sat beside the broken unit, and started taking it apart. Joran shook his head and chuckled. "Guess that's a yes." But that night, while Kari slept, Joran stared at the stars from the roof of his shack. He wasn't just worried, he was scared. Who was she, really? She had scars on her back, marks that looked like they were made by machines. Her reflexes were too sharp. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. And sometimes, when she was frightened, his lights would flicker. Even when the power was stable. She wasn't just another alien girl. And Joran knew someone out there might be looking for her. Suddenly, a strange message flashed on his old COM device. Tracking error, signal disruption, unidentified source. His heart sank. He turned quickly and looked at the shack. Kari was standing in the doorway, staring at him, her eyes glowing, like she knew. Like she remembered something he didn't yet understand. But all she said, in a soft voice, was, "Thank you." And Joran nodded, not knowing that her past was already on its way to his front door. Kari no longer flinched when Joran entered the room. That was progress. She now moved around the shack with a quiet confidence. She wore one of Joran's old shirts, far too big for her, sleeves rolled up. She still didn't speak much, but her eyes said more than words ever could. She was watching, studying, learning. Joran noticed the little things. She now drank water with 2 hands, like he did. She copied his habits. When he wiped grease off his hands, she did the same. When he smiled, she tried. It looked awkward but genuine. One afternoon, he caught her staring at his hand for a long time. "What is it?" he asked. She gently reached out and traced a scar on his knuckle. He nodded. "Old mistake. Engine fan." She hesitated, then turned her own hand over, showing a scar running down her wrist. It looked deeper, cleaner, like it was done with a blade and purpose. Joran didn't ask. She didn't explain. But from that moment, something changed between them. He began showing her how to fix machines properly. She had skill almost like she'd done it before, but she didn't understand human tools or safety. He had to stop her once when she tried to pull out a power cell with her bare hands. "That'll blow us both up," he said. She tilted her head. Oh, next time, she used gloves. Within days, she was rebuilding broken drones on her own. Old bots that hadn't worked in years now followed her around like pets. Joran began to call her his mechanic ghost, but there was still something strange. Her eyes sometimes glowed faintly when she touched energy cores. Devices powered up faster around her. Lights flickered when she got upset. Once, when a bot startled her, it suddenly froze its circuits, fried by a sudden surge. "Kari," Joran said, "after fixing the poor thing, are you doing that?" She lowered her head. "Sorry. Know what I mean? How are you doing it?" She looked away. "Don't know. I feel things sometimes. It happens." He didn't press. Not yet. Later that evening, she brought him a strange device she had built from junk. "For you?" she said. It looked like a scanner small, with a green glow. Joran turned it on. Nothing. Then he pointed it at her by accident. Tanned. It beeped. He frowned. "It's detecting something." Kari took the device and crushed it with one hand. "Not safe," she said firmly. "Kari, what are you not telling me?" Joran asked quietly. Her voice shook. "If they find me, ... I'll be gone. And you'll be gone too." Joran was silent for a long time. Then he placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "Then they won't find you. Not as long as you're here." Kari looked at him, something glowing in her eyes. Not fear this time, but something warmer. She whispered, "I like your world. It's ... kind." But kindness had a price, far away, in a Black Ops lab orbiting a dead moon. A red light blinked on a screen. Biosignal flare detected. Subject Alpha 3, possibly active. Dispatch retrieval unit. Back on Cavern, Kari slept peacefully for the first time in weeks, and Joran, for the first time in years, had stopped feeling alone. Neither of them knew that the human way kindness, trust family was the very thing the galaxy feared she would learn. And now, it was already too late to take it back. The wind howled through the junkyard that night, dry, hot, and restless. But inside Joran's small shack, everything was calm. Too calm. Kari was asleep, curled beside a pile of half-finished drones. Her breathing was slow, peaceful. Joran sat across from her, watching her chest rise and fall like it was something precious. She was healing faster than any human could. He didn't know whether that was a good sign or a bad one. He got up quietly and stepped outside. The night sky stretched above him, full of distant stars and old satellites. As usual, he checked the sensors he had placed around the perimeter chip, but they usually worked. Tonight, one was blinking red. Joran frowned. The sensor showed movement on the far edge of the junkyard where no one ever went. He tried to reset it, but the system froze. Then the power flickered. He rushed back inside. Kari was already awake, sitting up, eyes glowing faintly, staring at the wall. "You feel it too?" Atoan asked. She nodded slowly. "They're close." Atoan's blood went cold. "Who?" Kari didn't answer. Instead, she stood and placed her hand on the wall. A low hum vibrated through the shack. She whispered something in a language he didn't understand, and every drone in the room lit up. Joran stumbled back. Kari. What are you doing? They found me, she said softly. But not because I called them, because I was silent. For too long. What does that mean? He asked Ka. Ri turned to him with a strange sadness in her eyes. I was built to speak to machines. I stopped speaking. That silence told them I was hiding. Joran stared at her, stunned. They're tracking your ... absence. Yes, she said. And now they know where I am. He rushed to his control panel and opened the satellite feed. A black ship hovered high above the junkyard. No lights. No markings. Just a dark shape blocking out stars. They're not broadcasting any ID signal, Joran muttered. That's not government. Kari stepped forward, voice calm but shaking. It's worse. They're the ones who made me. Lights in the shack blinked rapidly, then died. The ground outside shook just once. Something had landed. Kari closed her eyes. If they take me back, I will not be me anymore. Joran didn't ask questions this time. He grabbed his old pulse rifle, handed Kari a shock baton, and opened a hidden hatch in the floor. We're not going to make it easy for them. He said. Kari didn't smile. But she reached out and touched his hand. Thank you for treating me like I was real. He blinked, surprised. You are real. Outside, silent shadows moved through the junkyard. Scanning the piles of metal inside, two hearts beat faster in the dark, and far above. The ship prepared to finish what it had started long ago, but what it didn't expect was that its creation had learned how to fight back. They ran through the maze of metal mountains, their feet crunching against broken panels and shattered circuits. The junkyard, once quiet and lifeless, now echoed with a soft hum of scanners and silent machines moving in the dark. Joran led. The way Kari closed behind barefoot, silent, eyes glowing. They reached an old, wrecked ship buried under heaps of scrap. Joran had once used it as storage, but now it was their only place to hide. He locked the door and turned to her. Tell me everything. No more half-truths. Kari stood still. Her eyes shimmered like starlight. I wasn't born, she began softly. I was made. Joran's throat tightened. Made? How? Kari sat on a cracked crate and looked at her hands. In a lab. Grown in a tank. They designed me to be quiet, fast, smart. A living tool to control machines. No past, no family, no freedom. Joran said nothing. They called me Alpha 3. I was the third version. The first two, ... failed. I ran before they finished me. Before they erased everything that felt real. Joran sat beside her. You escaped. That's what matters. No. She whispered, they'll come back. And if they take me, they'll finish what they started. I'll forget you. I'll forget everything. He looked into her eyes. I won't let that happen. But Kari didn't smile. You can't stop them alone. They made me stronger than most. But even I'm afraid of them. Joran frowned. Then we fight smart. We hide, we trap. We slow them down. Kari looked away. They don't want to kill me, Joran. They want to rewrite me. Silence filled the small space. Then Kari held up her arm. A small port opened in her skin, mechanical and glowing. Joran pulled back. Is that? My control port. They used it to upload orders, erase memory, ... Program feelings. Joran clenched his fists. That's not right. That's not living. That's why I ran, she said. But now, if they link to this port again, I won't remember you. I won't know who I am. Joran looked her in the eyes. Then we remove it. Kari gasped. If you do that, I might die. Joran replied, if we don't, you'll lose yourself. That's worse. She was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. He powered up a surgical tool. His hands shook. He had rebuilt engines and weapons his whole life, but never touched something like this. Not someone like her. She lay back on the table and whispered, "Do it before I change my mind." As he began, she stared at the ceiling, eyes wide open. "Joran," she said suddenly, voice trembling, "if I forget you, promise you'll remind me." He paused. "I won't let you forget." The tool hummed, sparks flew, and something deeper. Then wires began to break. Meanwhile, high above Cavernine, the dark ship scanned the planet's surface. Inside its cold halls, a voice said, "Subject Alpha 3 is bleeding data." "She's rejecting the code," another voice replied. "No matter. We'll retrieve the body, reset it, begin again." But they didn't understand what Kari had become. She wasn't just a creation. Anymore, she was someone, and she would fight to stay that way. The sky above, Cavernine, turned black. Not night, something worse. The enemy ship hovered like a shadow that swallowed stars. It made no sound, no warning, just presence. Below, the junkyard trembled as if the planet itself feared what was coming. Inside the workshop, Joran tightened the last bolt on the barricade. Sweat ran down his face. "That's the best I can do." Kari sat nearby, her breathing slow and heavy. Her eyes glowed brighter, now like twin stars beneath her skin. The control port was gone, burned out by Joran's shaking hands. She had nearly passed out, but she didn't complain. She was free now, but freedom came at a cost. Joran handed her a power pack and a makeshift pulse rod. "It's not military grade," he said, "but it zaps hard enough." Kari took it without speaking. She had changed. She wasn't just scared now, she was ready. Suddenly, the ground outside cracked. Boom! A shockwave rippled through the junkyard. A nearby tower of scrap collapsed in a cloud of dust and metal. Joran grabbed his rifle and peeked through the viewing slit. What he saw made his blood freeze. Black armored figures moved like cuss through the junkyard. Silent, precise. Their helmets glowed with red visors. No voices, no shouting. Just machines sent to capture. "They're here for you," Joran whispered. Kari stood. Her back was straight. "Then they'll find more than they came for." The first bot reached the door and placed a device on it. Tick. A tick. Boom. The blast shook the walls, but Kari was faster as the smoke cleared. She ran straight into the maze, burning. Weapon humming. The first soldier lunged. She ducked, spun, and struck the bot in the chest. Sparks exploded. It dropped another, raised. A gun. She raised her hand flash. A burst of pure energy knocked him back into a pile of metal. Joran watched from behind. Stunned. "She's not fighting like a child," he muttered. "She's fighting like ... a weapon." But Kari didn't lose control. She didn't scream or rage. She moved with focus, precision, like she was dancing through the chaos. Every move was her own. They tried to corner her. Big mistake. She leaped onto a crate, jumped over them, and landed behind. A wave of power exploded from her back, frying circuits and dropping two more bots. Joran joined the fight, blasting with his rifle. "Don't let them flank us." Kari nodded, launching another wave of energy. The lights flickered across the workshop and old machines burst to life. Drones they had repaired flew out, attacking the invaders like angry hornets. The fight spread into the scrapyard. Flames rose. Metal crashed. The junkyard became a war zone. But they were holding until Joran got hit. A bolt slammed into his chest armor. He flew backward and hit the wall, hard. His vision blurred. He couldn't breathe. "Joran!" Kari screamed. She ran to him, kneeling, hands glowing as she pressed them over the wound. No, stay with me, she whispered. He coughed. I'm ... fine. Just bit cracked. But she wasn't listening. Her energy surged. Not in anger, but fear, grief. A ring of light exploded from her body, knocking every soldier within 20 meters to the ground. Her voice echoed, but not. In words of frequency only machines could hear. The remaining bots twitched and shut down. Silent smoke drifted over the battlefield. Metal sparked and burned. Kari looked up, panting, eyes wide and glowing. She had stopped them. She had become the signal. Joran groaned, trying to sit up. Did we win? Kari helped him up gently. We survived. He looked around. Same thing. She didn't smile. She just held on to him like he was the only thing real above them. The black ship began to rise. Retreating, watching, learning, but Kari no longer cared. She had chosen her side, and nothing would take her back now. The battle was over. The junkyard, once silent and forgotten, now lay in ruins, scorched metal, broken bots, and pieces of the past scattered like ash in the wind. The sky above was clear again. The black ship was gone, but its shadow still lingered. In their hearts, Joran sat outside the shack, his arm in a sling, bruised and bandaged. Watching the horizon where fire had burned hours ago, he never liked company. He never asked for family. But now he couldn't imagine the silence without. Her Kaari, she stood nearby, facing the rising sun, her hair glowing silver in the early light. No longer afraid, no longer hiding. Her eyes still carried the storm, but there was peace now, too. She turned to him, holding something in her hand. It was a small metal Tacona piece from the bot they had built together before the attack. Burnt, bent, but not broken. Like them, she walked over, placed it in his hand, and sat beside him. Joran looked at her, then at the token. So, what now? Kari didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, she said, they'll send others. One day? I know, he replied. She looked at him with steady eyes. You could tell me to leave, hide somewhere else, stay safe. You'd be free of the danger. Joran scoffed. Free, without you here. That's not freedom. Kari's voice softened. I was built to obey, to follow commands, but now I choose. He raised an eyebrow. And what do you choose? She didn't hesitate. You, this place, this strange little shack. This life. Joran chuckled. You're choosing a broken-down junk collector with a dented skull and bad coffee? She smiled, truly smiled. I've had worse. For a while, they just sat there. No words, no orders. Just quiet understanding. Later, Kari picked up tools again. Not as a machine. Not as a weapon, but as a girl rebuilding her future, and Joran. He began clearing space in the shack, piece by piece. Not for parts, but for someone who finally belonged. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring, or what enemies still waited in the dark. But in this moment, on a forgotten planet covered in trash and stars, one alien girl had made a choice. She stayed, and for the first time in her life, she was truly free.